We are
We are.
with all the beautiful people on Facebook. I
Saying
have.
Facebook?
I said with. I didn't say all of the people on Facebook are beautiful. I
Okay.
said live with the beautiful people on Facebook.
Okay.
Also the non-beautiful people. But I try and. I'm a glass half full kind of guy, Lance.
Mm.
As you know, I always was all those years that we were touring.
Right before you took the glass and shattered it on the ground, and then picked up the shards of glass and stabbed them in your eye.
In the interest of full disclosure, I think I think you should know also that I'm not currently wearing pants.
Oh.
So
yeah, me neither. Technically.
Yeah, I'm not wearing shorts either. I am wearing boxer shorts, but yeah, I was outside. I was hot, and then I'm just not. There are pants right there, but I'm currently comfortable, so I'm not. So I'm not wearing pants, which I bet a bunch of people who stumbled on this stream are not comfortable now that I've mentioned that I'm not wearing pants.
Pat Lugo says hello to you only.
So
whatever.
He's kind of like that. So guess what? Tonight, I get to talk to a famous euphonium player on the internet.
Whoa.
Yep. It hasn't happened yet. It's happening. It's happening.
Euphonium player.
It's happening at 8:00 tonight. And his name is Demondrae Thurman.
I heard of Demondrae Thurman. He's supposed to be pretty good.
I'm very, very, very excited. So he is joining me for Inside the Practice Room. Gotcha. So we're gonna do a deep dive on there it is. Hello, Pat. We're gonna do a deep dive on his practice habits. He's gonna show us how he practices, and he's gonna talk about how many sessions he does in a day and how he approaches them. And it's gonna be awesome. 8:00 Eastern. It's right after this, although it's gonna be archived if you catch this after the fact. You can go to hitsacademy.com and click on the link if you want to join us.
He approaches them very carefully from behind the bush, making sure that no one has seen him.
He has a ninja-like ability to sneak up on licks that he's working on. Yes,
that's right. Take that, Barfield.
What the hell is wrong with you? So yeah, Inside the Practice Room. It's going to be fun. And guess who else I have scheduled for one of those?
Ooh, Michael Sachs.
Well, that already happened.
Oh,
that's available in the archives. That's also available in the archives. No, Patrick Sheridan.
Oh, I heard.
He
him.
He is him? He either practices a lot and really well, or he's the luckiest man in the world. So because he sounds freakishly good every time he plays. So
I've been with him a lot. I'm going with number one instead of number two.
That
lucky.
What was the order? Oh yeah, no, he's not that lucky. No. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. So tell me about your dog. How's your dog doing, man?
My dog is doing better. My dog, it was very scary. You know, when you have a little dog, I've had big dogs mostly. And so when a big dog experiences any kind of discomfort, we had a Mastiff that was just shy of 200 pounds.
Whose name was?
Kitty. And you could walk on Kitty, step full weight on her foot, and she would go. Nothing. Just nothing. But with the little dog, actually, we only had the little dog for a short period of time. We had a health scare with her. But then now fast forward 5-6 years later. So we were on a vacation last week. We had a house sitter who watched the dog, who loves the dog, and the dog loves. But we got back yesterday, and on the drive home, the pet sitter said, "Does Maple is her name? Does she scratch a lot? Is it normal?" And in the morning, she likes to have kind of that rug is a little bit scratchy, and she loves to come in here and kind of rub the side of her face on it, and just sort of that morning kind of stuff. But this was not that. And she was could not stop. She was shaking and just could not stop itching. And if you would just even put your hand on her, just to rest your hand on her, it was super, it was clearly uncomfortable for her. So so panic. And then she got these hives on her side and on her head. It was pretty scary. And we were already whooped because we'd been driving for 10 hours. But we gave her, we went to the authority that is the internet and learned that we could give her a little bit of Benadryl. And so then we gave her a little bit of Benadryl, and
Just
of
like a
course,
nip? Did it like come in a little plastic bottle or? Yeah.
bottoms up.
Yeah.
And had these little, so that was fun too, because fine motor skills were failing at the end of the day, and I'm like trying to get the capsule apart and then divide it in half, because you can only, it's like she can basically have 1 milligram per pound of body weight, so she's little. So, and
I mean, I'm assuming that the hives added a little bit, maybe add an extra drop.
True, good point. I didn't think about that.
Oh.
So every 4 hours then through the night, it was like having a newborn. It was like she was just up and uncomfortable, and so it was like, and then we were worried sick about her, trying to get anybody on the phone. And so then today, over the course of the day, she's been doing better. I think there was just the stress of us being gone, and then I don't know. We're going to call the vet tomorrow, but it seems better today and has rested a lot today. So, yeah. So there's that. How about you? You had dog action too.
I had an $850 vet bill this week. That was cool. Yeah, that was cool.
Was your dew claw infected or something?
Was the last was less than the last one, which was $1,500 when she ate a box of raisins. So that was cool. Yeah, this one though, we don't know what happened. They took an X-ray and she had like her L3 through L6 were like something was pinching. So I don't know. All I know is that she left with like muscle relaxers and
Yes.
Yeah. So
is that typical for that breed?
Oh, yeah. I don't spend much time on the internet, so I don't know. Oh wait, yes I do. So she's doing great now. Like she was totally out of character for like a day, and now she's fine. So
that just sort of throws you off, doesn't it? I mean,
it's like, it does.
If you don't have pets, I'm not sure if people get that.
Yeah.
Some people that I know only have pets and never had kids.
Right.
And even pet people think those people are crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there is a little bit of that. Yeah. I might have had a music theory teacher at Northwestern who I didn't, how do I put this? We didn't really get along all that well. And I Googled her like, I don't know, 10 years ago now at this point. This was 10 plus years after I was under her tutelage, and she has a website, and her website had a section which was all photos with her 7 cats, which just kind of it was connecting some dots. So
I see. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Was she like wearing them like clothing or?
No, not quite, but there was like, it was like portraits, It was like, it was like in a studio, like lighting and like, like sitting on blocks and stuff, So it was like, all right.
Fancy cats.
Yeah, fancy cats. Like, but she was in all of the pictures too. So, yeah.
Like glamour shots with cats.
I'll admit I didn't give her much of a reason to like me. Because when I was in undergrad, I took the tuba incredibly seriously. Like especially I'm not saying that there weren't people that worked harder than me when it was like self-propelled in the practice room, because there for sure were. But anytime that I was like in a class or rehearsal with my tuba, I was like insanely focused. But all of my non-tuba classes, I just kind of made a decision. I rendered a decision at the beginning of every class. I was like, give about 5 minutes. I'd be like, this is in this pile, or this is in this. This is in the. I will take this insanely seriously because it is abundantly clear to this 19-year-old who knows everything how this directly affects my ability to do what I want to do, or this is in the other pile. So, and the way music theory was taught was in the other pile. So, although I got to grad school. And jazz theory and ear training, which was the same class, which was like theory that was taught from like actually like applied level to me. And it was like functional. It wasn't theoretical. That was like instantly in the yes pile, and it was awesome. So, I was was a little bit of a show in that class. So yeah, I had not I had not really given her any reason to think that I was anything other than a complete and utter moron. And she she handed out clapping music. You know that piece of music? Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know it, it's a piece that's essentially in six. There's a 12/8 note pattern which goes and then the rhythm shifts to the left. To the rhythm shifts left. So the downbeat becomes beat 12, eighth note, in the 12/8 bar, and then so it goes anyway, I can usually do that all the way through. But then and Rex had me like playing one line and tapping the other, and it's like rhythm is how my brain works. And so she handed out the music for us to like sight read as a class, and the other side of the room was like where all like the voice majors were, and then the instrumentalists were over here, and they had the one where it changed first, and second measure it was just applause and giggling, and like they tried it like 6 times, and then I was like, all of a sudden the light bulb goes off, like this is my singular shining moment to let her know that I'm not a moron, and then I just act like one in her class, which is like that's a marginal win, right? That's actually then it's more. I'm more mad at a student who just acts like a moron around me than one who's just a moron. So, but anyway, then it came to, and then I just started clapping loudly, and like I did not, and I got the thing memorized. Like I'm looking up, and she's like looking at me, and she was like, you can see her doing the math. Like, what is happening? Like I was like, it was one of the more satisfying moments of my entire life. So yeah, and you could see her doing the math. Like, wow, wait. She was like, for half a second, she was impressed by my musicianship, and then she was like, so he's choosing to be an absolute jackass in and about my class. Yeah, so it was like, yep, that was, and it's like, yeah, you got all of it. Yep, we are on the same page.
That's pretty good. I tell you the story of my my oral harmony lab that I had to take when I was an undergrad. It was some grad student, and it was something early, like 8 a.m. on Tuesdays, and I was in the marching band, and I was doing. If there was a group that would let me play with it, I was in it. The wind ensemble, the symphony band, the concert band, played tuba in this, like in the campus band, marching, like all this stuff. So the marching band practice Mondays went till 9 p.m. So my attendance was less than ideal, and so I went to the first one, and I missed one or two, and then I kind of lost track, and I showed up on this one, and everybody was in the hallway, and I was like, what is going on? And they go, today's the midterm. I was like, what? Okay. So I'm afraid her name was Miss Wu, and I went in to Miss Wu. Hi, Miss Wu. I was wondering if I could take the midterm on Friday. And she said, who are you?
Who are you? I knew where that was going.
And so she let me take it on Friday, and then I like aced it, because there was never, like, that was always pretty easy for me. I never found that difficult. And we would always torture the people that had perfect pitch by one. We would always ask the teacher to tell us that the starting note was C. This thing is in C, but he'd play it in like F sharp or something. So the perfect pitch people would have to use it, like figure it out relatively instead of. And then the other thing we would do, we would go before a big test. We'd go, here comes the bride. Here comes the bride. Maria. Everybody's going, shut up. It's just torture. I gave grad students a hard time, which it was just too fun. I tell you, I learned that if you took, because I had music ed, if you took if you designed your schedule so that you couldn't take class, oboe class, saxophone class, whatever it was, then you got to take private lessons with a grad student.
Oh,
and
that's
the grad
like
students didn't
infinitely
care.
better.
And so
Yeah.
it was way easier. And I was in class flute, however, and so we're all in class flute, and the teacher was a doctoral student or something, and she decided that we were going to have a long note contest. The whole class was, so we were all going to stand up, and we're going to play a note, and when you're done playing your note, you sit down. And so at the end, it's her and me, and then she's like, let's do that again. So we did it like 2 or 3 times, and it was like a split decision kind of deal. Like, it's like, lady, there's a lot I can't do, but I have lots of empty space behind here, so I can do that.
I feel like this got shared on the podcast years ago, like maybe during the Bove interview, Andy Bove, but we we had keyboard skills together, and the teacher, whose name was Mrs. Koch, she was about like, I don't know, 4'10" German woman, and she was very old, and she we this was actually state of the art at the time. Like the fact that Northwestern had a room full of like 16 keyboards like behind me with headsets and all of that, like was like, there was a very short list of schools that had this back in 1993. And we had it, but we had the headphones with the microphones, and we would pair up, and Bove and I would always pair up, and we would be like working on stuff together, like, we'd be playing a duet, and she would just like, she would float around. She would float around like to the different pairs, to like check in and to hear what we were doing. Bove and I would always have an agreement that, so when she would come in, she would always have the mic very, very close to her mouth. And so as soon as she would come in, you would just hear this like, so as soon as
piano teacher,
as soon as we would hear the breathing, we would both just instantly pull our hands off, and then we would decide ahead of time whether it was me or Bove who would talk. And so then like we would just boom, and then we'd be like, I would say, okay, let's take it one more time from the third beat of measure 3 and work on not rushing. And Andy would go, that's a great idea, Andrew. And then we would, in the meantime, we would have to take it off of like, like the Hammond B3 that we were doing, because we were like jamming, like walking bass lines while we were like, like soloing, like, like John Medeski, or like Little Richard, like, elbows on the piano and stuff. And, that was those were fun times. Those were fun times.
B Mangino, that was my class piano. Killer B was her nickname. About the same size, about the same age, and she was the weeder outer. She was the one that, are you sure you want to be a music major? 8 a.m. Monday through Thursday, like for 3 quarters. It's like, oh boy.
So what should I? By the way, kids, you should go to class, and you should be nice.
Get a haircut.
Yeah.
Don't do drugs.
What should I ask Demondrae tonight? Like about practicing? Like specifically to him. Like what should I ask him?
Well, I see. This is, I have too many biases, but one thing I would ask him is, how similarly does his practice regimen resemble the practice regimen he suggests or proposes for his students? Because I think students look at their teachers, and sometimes they try and emulate the way their teachers practice, but they're at a completely different developmental stage.
Well, that's really interesting. I've heard Joe Alessi once in a masterclass say that it took him a lot more work, both in terms of like amount of time and just total time, but also duration of like work to acquire the skills that he has. It takes more work. It took more work to acquire it than to maintain it.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's exactly right.
Mhm.
And that's what I mean, that was my experience. I mean, we talked about it as well, where with sight reading, like there's the period of time before you could sight read and the period of time after which you could sight read. And not that it's going to be necessarily perfect, but you just know you're not going to get shaken. You're just
Right.
going to be able to get from the beginning of the piece to the end of the piece
Yes.
relatively unharmed.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I'm always curious about, how does his practice regimen changed over time? That's always kind of interesting to me.
Mhm.
Did he learn anything? Did he try and figure anything out during COVID? Did he use that opportunity that COVID provided
Mhm.
to do a deep dive into any either stuff you just don't have time to work on, or just some new skill?
Yeah.
What's the third valve do? Would be good.
He does he does play that fancy music where I bet he has to use the third valve, so he's probably learned how to.
You should ask him two
What?
questions you for sure should ask him. What's the difference between a euphonium and a baritone? That's fascinating. And how does the compensating euphonium work? I mean, that's just like never. That's never. That's always That's always the same level of interesting.
I haven't asked any of our trumpet guests lately what's the difference between a trumpet and a cornet, and then when they start answering, I go, I don't care, and then ask them a different question. I need to resurrect that bit because I, for one, find it very funny. Andrew McGowan, who's been coming to a lot of these because Andrew is awesome, says, is Pat Sheridan going to show us how to practice making hot dish?
Oh, hot dish. Oh, you better believe it. Oh, crepes. Oh, we should have a Midwest off on here one night. Once he and I get ramped up, we get Gary Bird used to teach at
of course,
the three of us
IUP.
get going on Midwest lingo. Oh, jeepers! You're gonna like that.
Once you guys get going, yeah, we would have to book a really long time because it usually takes you guys, a good hour or two before you're at full jackass.
That's right. I used to do a character. I don't think. Did you ever see me do Hoover Dam? Was the guy's name?
No.
Hi, this is Hoover Dam. Thanks for coming to the show. I think I started doing that with Brass Band at Battle Creek. It's like, oh, we've got a great show for you tonight. The ladies in the back want to thank you for having such a nice time, and let's have a nice round of applause. And if your hot dish was particularly chewy, one of the ladies lost her hairnet. It's just like all these like weird. Like, how many times has he played pantomime? That's a good. I've made pretty good bread off pantomime.
Ooh, Holtz
Napoli is another one.
Holtz, and who was the pantomime question from?
Zach Kramer.
Okay, Holtz, we've picked a scab. I like it.
Oh, yep. Jeepers.
He says, I still resent class piano and that teacher to this day. Quote, how could you expect to be a musician if you can't play the piano? GTFO. Which that's an abbreviation for something pertaining to hot dish. So
Grand Funk.
You missed one.
Oh, I was gonna forget.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
That's criminy. Oh, jeepers. Oh, yeah, better believe it. And my mom just talks like that now.
Yes, your mother your mother's a national treasure.
Oh, you boys. Oh my.
She says, "Oh, you boys," once every minute and a half whenever Lance and I are both with her. It's awesome.
It must be nice just to press a button and have the right pitch come out.
That's piano. Yeah, like, oh,
that's awesome.
That's my bit. It's off. There you go. It's funny.
You heard it. Andrew's bit is off.
That's oh goodness. So what else should I ask? Should I ask Mr. Demondrae? He's not. Is he a doctor?
I think so.
I think he is too.
And he plays one on TV.
I just assume everyone's a doctor at this point.
Has he recently changed? Well, does he keep? I'm I'm fascinated by process. So how does he track his progress, if at all? What tools does he use in terms of metronome recorder?
Yeah,
That kind of stuff.
the main thrust of this is process. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like that's what both so far there's been two, Jeff Nelson from Canadian Brass and Michael Sachs from the Cleveland Orchestra, and they were very different classes, but they were both just like, yeah, both immediately seeped into my practicing, like immediately.
What's he do if he doesn't feel like practicing?
That's on the list. Yep.
What's he
how
do
does
if
he
does feel like practicing?
right?
You mix it up on him.
Thanks to Jeff Nelson, I've got a practicing journal now. I write down every single.
He's gonna be mad when he found out you took that.
And I just change. He gives himself little scores. I lower them without him noticing. So when he goes back in, he starts questioning himself. Because we're good friends.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been cool to have so much stuff that's just like instantly. I think I talked to you about this before, but like Michael Sachs showed how he practices Petrushka, and he kind of like showed like where the notes that he aims for in Petrushka, and then he eliminated the other notes, and it was like ba ba beam bum ba ba beam bum ba da 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 bum bum ba deep bum ba deep bum. It was like, but then there was other ones, and then he'd switch it up, and then he was like, and it was it was a masterclass. I mean, which it literally was, but it was just. Yeah, it was great. It was really, really, really good.
His masterclass was a masterclass.
Masterclass
giving.
For both of those, I kind of wanted to just take notes and not have to ask the questions. So, except that I'm like hosting it. So, but yeah, I'm excited to talk to Maestro Thurman this evening.
Thurman,
and he's excited. So,
he said he was.
He did. He's said a few times, like including in private. So, like he's like. He and I know each other. He's home team. Like he'll be like, this is going to be great. Like, I mean, if he thinks it's going to be horrible, he wouldn't say that. But if he's just like fine, like he'd say it's going to be great. But he like actually seemed to mean it, like for real.
He's really good at faking sincerity.
But
I'll take it. How did you get better at that? Like that would be good to know.
How do you always appear outwardly to give a crap?
How do you feign enthusiasm with such enthusiasm?
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, this thing starts at 8 o'clock. Demondrae and I are hopping on at 7:45. Yep. I got to go make sure that everything under the hood is ready to go so that I will see all of the eager people. And it's not just for euphoniums, by the way. It's like, yeah, this is... Because like he's gonna practice something for like I don't care how you practice Petrushka. Like what do I care? Like I mean the tuba solo maybe once upon a time I cared about that, but the trumpet solo I don't care. But seeing is all about process. Seeing how he broke down that solo, and I was immediately like, whoa! Like as a teacher and as a player, it like totally blew my mind because it's not the, it's kind of like learning from a biography of somebody, like, somebody famous who doesn't do anything like what you do, and yet you're able to totally like, apply the lessons that whatever Henry Ford used to make fill in the blank when you're not exactly trying to.
I think he made cars.
I think he did too. So
my wife has 6 of her best friends here, so I'm going to be hiding out.
I can give you a code if you want to come for free.
Well, I have a lawnmower to fix for some reason.
Oh, I see.
That's what I'm
see.
Do. A lot of swearing and lawnmower fixing.
I have one completely random story. Have you ever heard of Ford's Folly?
I don't know.
So Henry Ford was a one-time owner of the Wayside Inn, which is right down the street from my parents' house, which is an inn from the 1700s that housed a whole lot of people. He decided that they wanted to have like a deep lake to be able to do like swimming and stuff like that. That was like a part that was up in the wilderness. It was like a quarter of a mile into the woods on Knobscott Hill, which is the hill that my parents live on. And he built this gigantic dam. It's huge dam in the middle and filled it with water. And the water just seeped right into the ground. And so there is still to this day this ginormous dam that's in the middle of the woods. Was right behind my friend Dave Crawford, who only lived in Sudbury for a year, but he and I were like best friends for that year, and we've stayed in touch. It was right behind his house. We didn't even know it, and he just like stumbled on it. We didn't know it was Fort's Folly. There's just a big giant dam in the middle of the, and you can walk out onto it right now. It's like, it's really wild. Like there's a car in there that's been there. It's like, looks like it's from the 70s. Like I have no idea how a car got there. But yeah, it's really wild. So yeah, not all of Ford's ideas were great. So Ford's Folly. So there you have it. There you go. See,
there it is.
Look at me teaching stuff.
Dropping knowledge with a capital N.
Right? If you're looking to, wow people with some Sudbury, Massachusetts trivia, then you're welcome. And who isn't? From time to time, looking to drop some Sudbury, Massachusetts trivia. The hometown of Paula Poundstone and They Might Be Giants and Mike Gordon of Fish. They were all within like 5 years of each other too.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Crew.
It's a pretty good crew.
And then Drought, and then you, right?
Yeah. Yes, it was a big drought, and then me. Yes, yep. I'm a really big deal in the online fish community, so I definitely consider myself part of that list. So, yep. There you go.
Should be your email signature. I'm a really big deal in the fish community.
I remind Tiffany all the time that I'm a really big deal in the online fish community, and she gives me a look, which is exactly why I tell her that.
Your wife has one of my favorite quotes, which is when you came home from the road and would be acting and talking like we would on the road, she would look at you quizzically and say, "Know your audience." Know your audience. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yep. All right, Lance. Have fun. Hey, thank you. Tell this is going to be. I said hi. This is going to be fun. I will. I'll tell him that you'd rather fix your lawnmower than than hang out with him. But that's fine. Okay. So it's good. I'm sure he'll be. Oh no! Please don't tell him that. I would feel bad. And that's going to do it for this edition of Brass Junkies Sunday.